lesson 11.5 is about recursion and iteration. And you need to know the difference between a sub n minus 1 and a sub n, and then you minus 1. So one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this lesson, be very careful with your subscripts. Keep them small so that they don't end up looking like whole numbers. Okay, we've got some things to write down here. And then we've got some things to write down here. Okay, this whole process that we're going to be doing, I'm going to go back to this page just to have some space, is trying to figure out the next number in a sequence, but it's going to be related a little bit differently. So, for example, what if I gave the sequence of 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Try to figure out if you can figure out what the next number might be. So the next number is going to be 8. What's the next number going to be? 13 is going to be my next number. What's the next number going to be? 21. Okay, so how am I going to figure out what the next number is going to be if you haven't figured this out already? What I'm doing is I'm taking the two previous terms and I'm adding them together. 1 plus 1 gave me 2. 1 plus 2 gave me 3. 2 plus 3 gave me 5. 3 plus 5 gave me 8, and so on. So my next number is going to be 34. And this sequence can go on forever. This is actually called the Fibonacci sequence, and the name was not on this slide, I guess, up here. Fibonacci sequence, but you don't really need to write that down. But it is a famous sequence that somebody came up with. And we're going to work with things like that, where we rely on the previous term to come up with our next term. So go ahead and copy this down. Be very careful as you copy this down. Keep your subscripts little. Okay, so our first term is a sub 1. That's going to be 5. Okay, and maybe what we need to do is rewrite this out. Let me move my 5 down. So a sub n plus 1. Okay, if this term is a sub n, my next term is going to be a sub n plus 1. My next term is going to be a sub n plus 2, and so on. So what all this a sub n plus 1 means is that's going to be my next term, equals 2 times the previous term plus 7. So if we could think about that in those terms, then it'll help us a little bit. So to figure out this next term, I'm going to take 2 times my previous answer, so 2 times 5 plus 7. Okay, so that's going to be 17. Okay, let's continue this pattern on then. So to figure out the next one, I take 2 times my previous one and add 7. 2 times my previous one, which was 17, plus 7. So that's going to be 34 plus 7 is 41. Again, I do the next one equals 2 times my previous plus 7. 2 times 41 plus 7. That comes out to be 89. How far do I need to go? Find the first 5 terms. So one more. So 2 times my previous plus 7. 185. That's my first 5 terms of the sequence. Let's do another one. Okay, a sub 1 is 4, so that's my first term. This says that's my next term equals my previous term plus 7. So this one's actually a little bit easier than the last one. All I need to do to figure out my next one is to take the previous plus 7. So my previous was 4 plus 7, that's 11. So again, I take my previous plus 7. Well, this time my previous was 11 plus 7, 18. So now I take 18 plus 7, 25. Got to do the first 5 turns. 25 plus 7, 32. That's our answer there. Okay, let's do a few more examples of this. How about this one? What's our first term? 5. This says our next term equals 2 times our previous term. So 2 times my previous term would give us 10. Now 2 times my previous term would give me 20. 2 times my previous term, 40. And then 80. All right, how about this one? My first term is going to be negative 4. And then it says this is my next term equals 2 times my previous term minus 6. So 2 times negative 4 minus 6. So that's going to be negative 8 minus 6, negative 14. 2 times, I'm sorry, not 2. Oh yeah, that is 2. 2 times my previous, negative 14 minus 6. So 2 times negative 14 minus 6. Negative 34. 2 times my previous, minus 6. Two times my previous, which is 74, minus 6, negative 154. Okay, how about this one? This is different because it's got that n in there. So I start off with negative 4, but then I do my next one is 2 times my previous plus the previous number's place. Okay, so this one, I'm going to take 2 times my previous number plus the previous number's place. Well, this was the first one, so that's plus 1. So 2 times negative 4 plus 1, negative 7. Now I take 2 times my previous answer plus it was in second place, so plus 2, negative 12. Okay, now I do 2 times negative 12 plus its place. Well, it was in third place, so I put a 3 there. Negative 21. 2 times negative 21 plus fourth place, negative 38. Those are my first 5 numbers. And how about this one? This one, we are given the first 2 terms. Okay, so our first term is 4, second term is 5. So let's go back. We had a sub n plus 1, a sub n plus 2, a sub n plus 3. Okay, so if I'm trying to figure out this one, I'm going to rely on a sub n plus 1 and a sub n. So if I'm finding this one, I'm going to say my next one equals 4 times, now if you look, this one is 2 back, so the second previous, we'll call that, minus 2 times n plus 1 is only 1 back, just our previous one. So we have to take 4 times our second previous, go back 2 spots, so 4 times 4 minus 2 times our previous, which is 5. So 16 minus 10 is 6. Okay, now I go 4 times second previous, go back 2 spots, 5, minus 2 times back 1 spot is 6. So 20 minus 12 is 8. 4, go back 2 spots, minus 2, go back one spot. So 24 minus 16 is 8 again. Those are our first 5 terms. And let's try one now that has a variable in there. So our first one is 1. Our second one is x. Now this one's written a little different. We've got a sub n. So if we listed out our numbers, if we had a sub n here, if we went backwards, this would be a sub n minus 1. This would be a sub n minus 2. So when we're doing this, we go 3, the next one, always start next equals, 3 times the previous one, go back one spot, plus 6 times, this is back 2 spots. Call that the second previous. So we would need to take 3 times the previous, plus 6 times the second previous, which was 1. So that would end up being 3x plus 6. And we can't do anything else about that. I'm going to pull these down a little bit. Give myself some more room. Okay, so now I take 3 times the previous plus 6 times the second previous. Okay, I'm going to have to do some work here. Distribute through. 9x plus 6 plus 18x. That makes 27x plus 6. Okay, one more set to go. 3 times our previous plus 6 times our second previous. And again, I got some work to do here by distributing that through. So 27 times 3. 81 plus 18 plus 18x. Oh, I forgot the x on somewhere. Where'd the x right there? And then plus 36. This is getting all crammed together. So 81 plus 18 is 99x. And then 18 plus 36 is plus 54. So this could also work with expressions. Okay, let's go backwards and write in a recursive formula from this one. So let's figure out what are we doing to get to the next one. That's sometimes the hardest part. Okay, in this case, it looks like we're just multiplying by 4. So to get our next one, we take our previous answer times 4. Or we could do 4 times our previous answer. So we say a sub n plus 1 equals 4 times a sub n. And then with that, we always have to start with a sub 1 equals 5, because we need to list off our starting point. And how about this one? If we have 6 is our third number, and our difference is 5, so we add 5 every time. We go backwards by subtracting 5. So we've got 1 and negative 4. So here we say a sub 1 equals negative 4. And then we write out our next one equals our previous one plus 5. Okay, so how do we write that? A sub n plus 1 is our next one, equals our previous one, which is a sub n, plus 5. And this is where I'm going to have you, I'm going to stop the video for now, and then you can pick up with part 2.